myself because it felt different. I actually felt fast. I felt awesome. I felt that I could have won the race. I felt that I blew past Lionel Sanders, Patrick Lunge, and eventually landed on the moon. I felt amazing. This is the rocket ship, or the Felt B16, aka one of the most valuable tri bike in the world. It not only looks fast, it is fast. Wickedly fast. Felt as a company was founded in 1981 when the triathlon bike was still a new concept. Its founder, Jim Felt, actually worked as a bike builder previously, and after millions of trial and error, he came out with a new triathlon bike, named it the famous B2. Paula Newby Fraser took it to win the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. And right after that, due to the popular demand from the general public, Felt actually launched its own company. The design process for Felt bicycles is one of the most sophisticated in the industry. First of all, they will come out with the design on a piece of paper, and then they will use a fluid-dynamic modeling software to make sure their design is the most efficient. And also they will use a CAD modeling software to make sure their design is sufficient as well. And after that, they will take their design to a wind tunnel to test the bike's performance. And based on the test numbers, they will decide whether to go on with the production or make a few tweaks on their parts, or even go back to the drawing board entirely. It is not a cheap process. In fact, it's very expensive, but the result is proven to be very rewarding. Almost 20 years, numerous Felt-sponsored athletes have actually won the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. And also, Felt bikes was featured in Tour de France, and they have also won tons of races in the Tour de France events. The technology that Felt introduced includes the Equalink suspension fork, as well as the Boynet fork, which use an external steer fork in front of the head tube to make sure the bike is stiffer and also more aerodynamic. Other bike manufacturers have adapted the Felt's design and also achieved a great amount of success. The material used on this Felt B16 comes from Felt's UHC Performance MMC carbon, which was featured on Felt flagship bikes before. It is not the lightest, but there are many aerodynamic design implemented on this bike. Almost every tube for this bike has an airfoil shape with a round leading edge and a pointy trailing edge. The down tube lower part, for example, is curved in to make sure the front end of the bike is more aerodynamic. The massive part behind the seat post is also designed for more aerodynamic as well. The seat post is very, very thin, and if you actually look from the front of the bike, it's almost like a vertical line with the head tube as the only frontal area of the bike. It's just ridiculous. The bottom bracket is actually threaded, and the bottom bracket drop for this 52 centimeter frame is 70 millimeters. Internal cable routing is standard on this bike, and I actually especially love this cable naming feature at the front of the top tube, where you can see which cable performs what function. It's not only convenient for bike mechanics, it is also a very neat little features that I really like. What about the geometry for this bike? Similar to other Felt, this B16 has a long and low geometry, which means that it has a long reach with a shorter stack. So it is good for people with a longer torso with a shorter legs. And the seat angle for this 52 centimeter frame is measured at 77.6 degrees. So it is rather steep. The geometry of this whole bike is basically designed to allow the riders to be more aerodynamic and also save their quad muscles for running later on. The gearing for this Felt B16 is actually very smooth and reliable because it comes from Shimano's 105 10-speed drivetrain. The Felt branded brake caliper actually is very smooth. The FSA Vero crankset is actually surprisingly not too smooth, and the wheels and the tires are relatively basic, but once they are upgraded, they can fly for sure. Beside the frame, the most valuable part on this bike is actually the Zipp Vuka Aero cockpit. It is also made of unidirectional carbon, weighing just under 846 grams. Zipp also claims that this Aero cockpit can fit more than 600 fit positions. That includes the arm pad positions, the length, the width, the height, as well as the angles. But still, 600 positions, that's a lot of positions for you to dial in. Also, I have to mention that this cockpit brand new cost $900 US. $900 US for a cockpit. You know what, just forget about training. Training doesn't matter. If you want to be fast and comfortable, spend the money. End of the story. Despite what the internet says about this bike being the entry-level tri bike, this is no ordinary tri bike. It's got a fast and aero frame. It's got a great set of components throughout, and with this Zipp Aero handlebar, you can ride it comfortably for long periods of time. Moreover, this bike was designed in a wind tunnel, and people won the Ironman World Championship with their own Felt bikes. I have to admit that I've never thought about triathlon because I just couldn't stand the dry, long-hour training. But now I'm starting to change my mind because it's such a joy to ride this Felt B16. And to be able to ride this for a long time during training, I think is true happiness for me.